This is going to happen, however, Madam Speaker, is if we get our population vaccinated. That's the way. So, Madam Speaker, based on the registration data, approximately 39,000 students are registered to do the PEP ability test for grade 6, which is scheduled for May 26, 2021. 13,951 students in the public schools and 101 private candidates are registered to do CAPE. 45,174 students in the public schools and 1,162 private candidates are registered to sit CSEC. These exams are scheduled for June 14th to July 16th, 2021, with orals and practicals scheduled to commence June 1st, 2021. 24,000 students are registered for City and Guilds exams, and this exam is scheduled for August 10th to 11th, 2021, and 16,000 students are registered to sit the NCTVET exams scheduled for June 7th to 11th, 2021. So, Madam Speaker, you can see that we will have a significant population of our youth moving about in the population. Due to the pandemic, a significant number of the current exam cohort would have lost approximately 1 year of in-person instruction and guidance. School-based assessments, SBAs, would normally be over 90% complete in the month of March. However, based on the SBA Readiness Survey conducted on April 8th, only 15% of the CSEC schools and 26% of CAPE schools have over 70% of SBAs completed. So we are in a dire position. Arising from this, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information wrote to CXC requesting a further extension of the deadline for the submission of SBAs, and this was granted. So the SBAs now can be submitted or should be submitted by June 30th, 2021 without penalty. And it was agreed that it could be submitted on a rolling basis. That means that as you are completed a part of it or the whole of it, you can submit. So that way they don't have a pile-up of SBAs to mark, that they can start marking as they receive. Of course, Madam Speaker, the June 30th deadline would not apply for all the SBAs. I believe that for practicals, Minister, there might have been a different deadline. But yeah, there is a different deadline for that. So for project type SBAs, the deadline for submission is June 18th, 2021. Madam Speaker, face-to-face engagement for students preparing for the 2021 sitting of the exit examination constitutes a timely and necessary intervention to better enable students to adequately prepare. The Cabinet has therefore given approval for the resumption of face-to-face instruction as of Monday, May 10th, 2021, for those students sitting the PEP grade 6 ability test and those in grades 11 to 13 to sit the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, the City and Guilds, and the National Vocational Qualifications, or NVQJs. Private schools, and this would apply for those who are sitting these exams in private schools as well. Madam Speaker, we want to emphasize that the COVID-19 infection prevention and control protocols will be firmly established and enforced in the schools, and we are expecting that there will be strict adherence to these rules within the schools. Provisions have been made through the regional offices for disbursements of grants for basic equipment and material needed for sanitization purposes. And this would include, Madam Speaker, the procurement and provision of masks for students who don't have. A whole day rotation approach based on resources available, that would be space and staffing at schools, is going to be implemented commencing May 10, 2021. And this is to facilitate the inclusion of face-to-face engagements for students sitting the 2021 exit exams. This means that only a subset of each cohort of students will be at school each day while others work remotely. So, Madam Speaker, we're not proposing that we will have the entire cohort of exam students coming to school all at once. So they will be given a schedule and they will be able to be rotated in. So the school should be able to utilize all its classroom spaces, and the teachers who are there would have to be scheduled in order to deal with them. So the schools, Madam Speaker, will be required to be involved in a very high level logistics and planning exercise to ensure that they can comply with the health protocols that are going to be established. But this is also, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we don't have a situation where we have crowding on public transportation by our school children. So we are going to be scheduling it as such that students are able to travel without necessarily having to be crowded into public transportation. That was part of the consideration. Systems are in place for the teachers involved in face-to-face instruction to be vaccinated as part of the infection prevention and control measures. Madam Speaker, 2 months ago, when we were planning our vaccination, the implementation of our vaccination exercise, we decided that we would include teachers as a priority. And that was done precisely because we saw that this day would come and we would need to have teachers vaccinated. So, Madam Speaker, approximately 7,500 teachers have already been vaccinated. It's a fairly decent number, still not high enough to give us the satisfaction we would need, but we do have a critical core that could carry the revision classes and the face-to-face classes that we need. We have plans in place to vaccinate other teachers, and that will commence on May 6, 2021. And we are using this platform, Madam Speaker, to encourage all our teachers, especially those who will be required to conduct the face-to-face classes, to get vaccinated. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, would have made the arrangements by now, and the teachers would have been contacted. And we're urging all our teachers to take advantage of this opportunity to get vaccinated. The Ministry of Health and Wellness will ensure that the schools that we are expecting to reopen, more than 355 schools, that these schools will be inspected thoroughly to ensure that they have the protocols in place and that they are maintaining them when the children are in attendance. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information will coordinate with parents and local transport providers to ensure the safe movement of students to and from school. Where there is need for transportation support for students or for families who are experiencing severe financial challenges, this should be communicated to the regional office for special support. We're providing support for our students who will need to travel. Parents will be asked to visit our website as of Thursday, May 6, 2021, to provide information regarding their transportation routes and distance away from schools. This information will help us to finalize specialized support in tandem with our transport providers, including JUTC and Montego Bay Metro. Madam Speaker, except for students sitting exit examinations, as earlier stated, there should be no other face-to-face instruction in our public schools or independent schools, primary or secondary or post-secondary. Students are instructed to use the other modalities which are in place, which would be the virtual online learning, the audio visuals on TV and radio stations, and those schools that actually come to your home and deliver the books and the worksheets. Those are the modalities that are in use. So let me again use this opportunity to thank all in the education sector to continue to go above and beyond in these unprecedented times. Let me encourage our students to remain focused on their studies and apply creativity, critical thinking, and innovativeness in overcoming the challenges the pandemic has created. These are the skills that will serve you well in all your endeavors, including your examinations. Other measures, Madam Speaker, all other measures remain largely unchanged until the 2nd of June 2021. So let me therefore quickly go through some of these measures, noting changes where applicable. The control entry protocols. Madam Speaker, the existing protocols, including the requirement for all travelers to present a negative COVID-19 test conducted within 3 days of travel, remain in place, as does the requirement to self-quarantine for 14 days after arrival. I want to emphasize that even though incoming travelers would have presented a negative COVID-19 test, the 14-day quarantine requirement still applies. And this includes persons who are fully vaccinated. There is no exception within our control entry protocols for persons who have been fully vaccinated. Even though you are vaccinated, the science is still saying that you could possibly carry and transmit. Madam Speaker, and some people might be saying, then why get vaccinated? So you may be able to carry and transmit, but if you are vaccinated, you have a higher probability of not getting ill, and still yet a higher probability of not having a fatal event, or meaning attributable to COVID, meaning that you probably, even if you got ill, you probably would not die from COVID. So, Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize this, that our 14-day quarantine is still in place and it is still a requirement, and we will still be enforcing against this. Madam Speaker, we note that some countries have issued different protocols for fully vaccinated persons. For us not to do so could put us at a competitive disadvantage in the tourism market, particularly in the context of large numbers of persons being vaccinated in our major source markets. So, Madam Speaker, it is not that we are not considering, it's not that we are not looking at the probability and the possibility and the impact of other countries who have decided that they're going to change their protocols to allow vaccinated persons to enter without quarantine. We recognize that it will place us at a disadvantage. But where we are, Madam Speaker, in the pandemic, we could not at this time, at this stage, when our R0 is still varying between a medium and a low risk, we could not at this time make that adjustment. Madam Speaker, the travel ban applicable to the United Kingdom came to an end on April 30th, 2021, and has not been extended, given the significant proportion of the UK population that has already been vaccinated and the consequent reduction in new cases in the United Kingdom. While the UK variant remains a concern, it is notable that it is now the dominant strain in the United States, where we get the bulk of our tourists and indeed the bulk of our travelers, including our Jamaican diaspora, and the United States being the main destination for Jamaicans who are traveling outbound. So following our ongoing review of other countries experiencing a spike in COVID-19 cases, in some cases due to variants, we are extending the travel restrictions that we have to include India and Trinidad and Tobago, effective Wednesday, May 5, 2021, until the 2nd of June, 2021. The travel ban for South American countries, Brazil, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, and Paraguay, is also being extended until the 2nd of June, 2021. Of course, we continue to reassess these as circumstances warrant. Madam Speaker, the age limit for the stay-at-home measure remains at 60 until June 2nd, 2021. This is another area of extensive discussion. We have spent some time discussing this in the Cabinet. However, at this time, given where we are with our R0, we're not quite in the low-risk zone. The position that we have taken is that it is safer to keep our 60 years old under the stay-at-home measure. Work from home, Madam Speaker, the existing work from home directive in the public sector is being extended until June 2nd, 2021. As a reminder, permanent secretaries and heads of agencies are directed to ensure that only persons who work in critical service delivery and perform job functions that have to be done in office or in person or with physical presence should be encouraged to come to work. For the private sector, employers should allow all persons who can work from home to do so. The gathering limit. The public gathering limit will remain at 10 persons until the 2nd of June 2021. However, public entities may now hold events such as, well, let me rephrase this. Public entities may hold events limited to handing overs, launches, groundbreaking, and opening ceremonies, but there should be no more than 15 persons physically present, and the requirement of mask wearing and the maintenance of physical distance must apply. Madam Speaker, the reason for this is that we have several projects that we have to launch, officially open, to get them started. And the idea behind it, Madam Speaker, is that all of this should really be done virtually. So the only persons that would be present would be the minister, the permanent secretary, whoever else might be critical to any contract signing and so forth, and it be broadcast and televised. So this is not a license for any event, any large event, no more than 15 persons. And the 15 persons, Madam Speaker, is the same provision for funerals, for burials, and for weddings. So it would be 10 persons in attendance and whatever personnel is needed to do the broadcasting. Markets. For markets and vending in public arcades and public transportation centers, opening hours will be 1 hour after the end of the curfew in the morning to 1 hour before the start of the curfew. Therefore, when the curfew ends at 5 a.m., markets will open at 6 a.m. When the curfew starts at 8 p.m., markets must close by 7 p.m. On Saturdays, when the curfew starts at 6 p.m., markets must close at 5 p.m. and markets remain closed on Sundays and public holidays. Public transportation. In terms of public transportation, they will still be allowed to be on the road 1 hour before and 1 hour after curfew, but there can be no passengers in the vehicles during this period. Madam Speaker, all persons in PPVs are reminded to comply with the outlined protocols in the order. Funeral services. Funeral services are not permitted during the period ending June 2, 2021. Madam Speaker, we appreciate the emotional strain that this measure is causing, but we have no other option at this time until we see further improvement in our numbers. Burials. Burials will continue to be allowed on Mondays to Fridays during the hours 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. As a reminder, the time for conducting the burial is limited to 30 minutes, and only 15 persons, of whom a maximum of 10 should be mourners, will be allowed. In a previous order, Madam Speaker, we had restricted motorcades for funerals. And I read the distressing case of a mourning party coming back from a burial and their bus being shot up and two Jamaican women being killed. And you know, my heart goes out to their family. Madam Speaker, I'm not proposing that these COVID measures can solve crimes, but sometimes I think as Jamaicans we have to be wise. We have to wise up because you not only have a killer virus, but you have people infected with the virus of violence who are even more dangerous than the virus. So we just have to be wise in what we are doing. Worship services, Madam Speaker, the maximum number of persons who may be physically present to facilitate worship or electronic broadcast, including the officiating clergy and technical support personnel, remains at 30. And Madam Speaker, as soon as we dip further into that green zone, then we can contemplate increasing the numbers in our church. Just to point out, Madam Speaker, it's interesting, in this version of the graph showing the various threat levels, in green, if your R0 is in that area, then your curve will be heading downwards. Your epidemiological curve will be heading downwards. If you are in the yellow, you're going to have an exponential increase, which means that your next increase will probably be a factor of your last increase, or sometimes double your last increase. And if you are in the amber, it means that you're going to have high exponential increase. And if you are in the red, you're going to have your numbers shooting up astronomically. So we are just on the edge of decreasing. We're not quite there yet. Anything could push you back into the yellow where you could start to see increases again. So we need to get further down into the green zone. And once we are in that zone, then we can contemplate, for example, increasing the number of worshippers in church. Who knows? Maybe increasing the number for weddings. Even though, Madam Speaker, I don't know what it is, but I'm not getting so many complaints about the number for weddings. Maybe there is a certain economy at play. But you would have heard, Madam Speaker, but you would have heard from the Minister of Justice, I was listening carefully, that the number of marriage certificates were quite significant. So people are quietly going about their business, Madam Speaker, and probably saving quite a bit. Madam Speaker, so the wedding cap remains at 15. Beaches and rivers that are not under organized management and control will remain closed until June 2nd, 2021. Zoos, parks, gyms, attractions, and bars are subject to the existing restrictions and must close at the designated times until June 2nd, 2021. Amusement or gaming arcades not licensed under the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act must remain closed until June 2nd, 2021. Indoor cinemas and establishments that stage theatrical or artistic performances will remain closed until June 2, 2021. The ban on events such as concerts, parties, tailgate parties, round robin, and boat parties will continue until June 2, 2021. Madam Speaker, effective May 5, 2021, annual general meetings or extraordinary general meetings of companies and general or special meetings of cooperative societies, friendly societies, or industrial or provident societies may be held with a maximum of 15 persons present, including technical support personnel. Most importantly, the requirement to always wear a mask to cover your nose and mouth in a public place continues, as well as a requirement to be physically distanced from other persons, especially those not in your household, and to either wash your hands or for at least 20 seconds or sanitize frequently. Those rules must be followed for any gathering that is permitted. Madam Speaker, I want to just quickly mention the delivery economy. Notwithstanding a few teething pains, the e-commerce national delivery system, ENDS, pilot has been extremely successful. It has enabled a number of quick serve businesses to continue operating during curfew hours. The demand has been overwhelming, and we will be expanding the pilot program for registration to businesses island-wide by Thursday, May 6, 2021. We are moving quickly to further enhance ENDS to prepare for a full launch to be called ENDS 2.0, which will include a redesigned website and mobile apps, as well as interconnection with other government systems to facilitate proper monitoring and enforcement. Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize that, as has been the case to date, the system will be fully inclusive and enable the smallest vendor to participate. Madam Speaker, I've seen some pan chicken operators benefiting significantly. They have embraced the technology, and the persons are seeing the business opportunity. But what we have discovered, Madam Speaker, is that while we in this House appreciate the technology and the formation of the digital society, we still have a far way to go to explain this to the average man on the street, so that he can understand that his business too can be a part of the digital platform, the digital society. So what we have discovered here in the rollout of the ENDS is that we have to give greater support, both in terms of financial literacy, but also in terms of digital literacy to the small business operator. We have to literally, Madam Speaker, go out, embrace them, coach them, hold their hands, and probably even give some kind of incentive for them to participate. And so a positive spin-off of the ENDS is that, Madam Speaker, we are now discussing from a policy perspective how we can ensure that all Jamaicans, including the smallest business person, can be included in our financial digitization efforts. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance announced that the Bank of Jamaica will be very soon launching our digital currency. We don't want the digital currency, Madam Speaker, to be the exclusive enclave of the rich and those who are native to the digital society. We want the average Jamaican to benefit from the convenience and mobility of digital currency. So we are going to be pushing even harder to ensure that the people in Coronation Market or wherever in Jamaica, Red Hills Road, Grand Spen, Christiana, that they too can realize the benefit and convenience and safety of using the digital currency. Madam Speaker, up to the end of April, approximately 140,000 persons had received the first dose of the vaccine. On April 26, 2021, we received an additional 55,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine from the global COVAX facility. The vaccination program continues to be targeted at any member of the priority groups who have not yet received their first dose, as well as providing the second dose to those who are now due. As a reminder, our priority groups are persons 60 years and older, healthcare workers, the JCF, JDF, PICA, Department of Correctional Services, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and our teachers, especially those who instruct students who will be sitting external examinations and will be returning physically to school as of May 10th. Madam Speaker, the government continues to pursue all avenues, bilateral, multilateral, as well as commercial arrangements with suppliers to obtain further vaccine supplies. Madam Speaker, I wish to say that it would be the greatest travesty to humankind if vaccines that are currently in storage for strategic reasons were allowed to expire or come close to expiration before they are made available. And I am not asking necessarily for gifts, but to purchase as well. And I think great consideration should be given to the emergency that exists now with small, poor countries like Jamaica that are essentially at the mercy. You know, we are practical people, Madam Speaker. We understand that those who have the vaccines, those who produce it, they're going to make sure that they get their population vaccinated. But it is quite another thing, Madam Speaker, when you have supplies that, yes, you might be holding them for strategic reasons, but I think where we are at now, the greater strategic benefit would be to ensure that the wider population outside of your country, near your borders, that those markets, those economies, those societies can see hope for recovery as well. That will certainly ensure a stronger recovery for the world. Madam Speaker, we are starting to see an improvement in our case numbers and hospitalizations, but there is absolutely no room for complacency. The experience of other countries and indeed our own experience should serve as a warning that we cannot dispense with caution and we cannot become complacent. Otherwise, this will lead to catastrophe. While we continue our best efforts to obtain and further advance vaccinations in our country, we must ensure that we utilize the ultimate vaccine. And the ultimate vaccine is our personal responsibility. The ultimate vaccine is for every single Jamaican to observe the public health protocols which have served us all very well. The ultimate vaccine is knowledge and information that changes behavior. particularly for those who exist on the fringe of our society and for those who are influential within our society, but preach a message against reason that is selfish and endangers the life and livelihood of all Jamaicans. Madam Speaker, as I close, I want to commend and thank our health workers and our security forces. I think they have behaved and conducted themselves with the security forces with great restraint and professionalism in handling the matters of the pandemic. And as usual, our public health workers have been very committed, and I want to acknowledge them. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Today I want to encourage you. This Christian journey will get hard at times, but don't give up. Ride out your storm.
It is a hard road to travel and a mighty long way to go. I really want to thank our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, for that wonderful presentation at the sitting of the House of Representatives. You're tuned to Love 101, the family station. Of course, I'm joined now by Derville. How are you doing?
Yes, hi, I'm doing well. Thank you, Shane. I trust you are no less yourself.
I am doing well. I'm actually sitting in the chair. I'm actually sitting in the chair, you know, a chair that that is well, what do you call it now? I'm trying my best to do as best as I can.
Well upholstered.
All right, so what's happening? So we heard from the Prime Minister.
Well, we heard the Prime Minister just now, and I heard your comment before you came to me, indicating that's a hard road to travel. Indeed it is, but you know, the beauty is we can make the trip if we try. And I'd just like to encourage people to bear in mind that the appeals from the Prime Minister for us not to stack off thinking that we have arrived simply because there have been some improvement in the numbers. I'd like to just reiterate some of the main points here right now. First and foremost is the fact that the existing measures, restrictive measures, will remain in place, as the Prime Minister, until the 2nd of June. It means that the curfew hours are still in place until the 2nd of June at the very least, which is Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. the following day. And that stays in place until the 3rd of June.